Hi, Annie.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
And then you're away too, so even just to like take time out. Are you like on vacation?
I mean, not, I wish I was on vacation. I'm never really on vacation anymore because I'm
Right,
always working.
right.
So I wake up super early here and start
Yeah,
working and then, and
yeah,
then usually try and leave a little time in the afternoon to get out and surf a little bit and
right.
the kids.
It looks like it's raining there a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a rainy morning. We've had really nice weather. Today's a little rainy. We're getting like a huge sort of system coming in, which
Okay.
not ideal in terms of the weather, but we're going to get some really big surf, so that'll be fun.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. It's
Yeah.
like 34 degrees here. It's like when you, because I think you took off like Sunday or Monday of this week. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just one of those like, it's like bitter.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not missing that, that's for sure.
Well, I have to say, like, I truly am like separate from doing this like business spotlight for my newsletter. Like, I have been kind of stalking you and like on your Instagram, and like over the years, I'm like, where is she? Where is she up to? Like, and just kind of putting it together in my head what it is and understanding. But like, I really am very curious because, your Instagram feed just like takes you literally all over the world, and so. Yeah, so you're uh by like title a luxury designer, travel designer. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Okay.
works.
For Bon Vivant,
Bon vivant luxury travel, yes.
right? Okay. So just tell me like how that even began. How did it start?
Um, so really, I mean, as you know, just
Yeah.
from knowing me for a while,
Yeah.
I've always traveled all over the world and I've always taken, I drag my kids everywhere and
Yeah.
I grew up traveling. My dad was out of the country 300 days a year, so we were always all over the world and because it was for his job, we were always staying in, very luxurious, nice places. So it's kind of
Right.
just what I've known, it's how I've grown up, it's how I've lived my life. And
Right.
people were always asking me, hey, can you help me with this trip? Hey, if I take you out to lunch, will you help me work on this itinerary? Or can I buy you a drink and we could talk about
Right.
hotels? And I'm like, you don't need to take me to lunch or buy
Right.
me. It's like, I want to help. This is fun for me.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the pandemic was when I was like, I was getting asked, I think a couple times a week, 3 times a
Yeah.
week, people would be asking me. And I was like, think people get paid to do this. I
Yes.
don't know if they do because
Yes.
I had never used a travel advisor, but I was
Right.
like, I'm pretty sure people get paid to do this.
Right.
So I just, looked into it and the rest was
Yeah.
history. Okay.
And like, how is it connected to like the travel agent of like pre-pand or pre not pre-pandemic, pre-internet days? Like when I
Yeah.
was growing up, or I'm older than you, but just, that was a thing. And then it's not a thing, but now it's becoming a thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think that originally travel agents were really, they don't use the term travel
Sure.
agent anymore. Everybody's a
Right.
travel advisor now, or travel
Yes.
designer, travel planner, whatever it is. But I think
Right.
a travel agent truly just booked was like, okay, here's your flights, here's your
Yep.
hotels, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's evolved over the years, you're right, and that kind of went away. And then I think travel advisors started, to really come back
Mhm.
pre-pandemic, and then obviously things went away again,
Yeah.
and then came back in a major way post-pandemic because navigating the whole scene of traveling originally post-pandemic with like all the COVID restrictions was
Right.
really tricky. But now it's more than that. It's also everything is going anywhere is becoming so much more difficult because there's just so much more volume, right? Like
Right.
everybody all of a sudden wants to travel
Right.
everywhere, mostly to Italy,
Yeah.
but everywhere.
Yes.
And it just help, so we're there to help navigate that to,
Yeah,
okay, I would not recommend going here at this time of year for this
right.
reason. Like, let's look at these other alternatives. And so it's not simply booking the hotel, booking the flight. It's like, really, let's tailor this specifically to what you're looking for. And,
Yeah.
why do you want to go to Florence in the middle of August? Why
Right,
do you want to, go to this place? Let's
right.
figure out what's going to actually be the best place for you to go.
I see. So the whole strategy behind it, right? Because it's so
Yeah.
like, and are your clients like, is it usually the whole family? Like, is there a profile, where
Total,
it's,
total mix.
yeah,
I have a ton of families, obviously, just
yeah,
given, the my age, and that's who I know right now. Like, I get a ton of families, and because I think I post a lot about my family traveling, that's
right.
people are drawn to that. But I also get a ton of couples.
Okay.
I have quite a few older couples
Mhm.
too, which is
Mhm.
interesting, like people that are retired. Um, I have my first solo traveler ever,
Oh, nice. That's cool.
actually, who's traveling. I don't get a ton of solo travelers, but I have
Yeah.
one that's going to Australia soon.
Uh-huh.
And I don't do a lot of honeymoons, just I think, again, like, I just don't know a lot of people in that demographic,
Yeah.
but I've done a couple, and those are so fun to do
Yeah.
because, I mean, it's a honeymoon. It's like a dream. So I
Right.
love those. But I do all leisure. I don't do any corporate or anything.
I see. And so like if you were working with a couple for a honeymoon or even like I don't know, someone who's retiring or at that stage of life, like so you map out not just like the whole itinerary, sort of what,
Mhm.
if you're going here, this is what you need to do, or based on the person's interests. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's,
yeah. So I do a lot of multi-generational families too.
yeah,
So, like, right now
yes.
I'm working on one that's going to Italy in late May, early June.
Mm.
And yeah, and to me, it's kind of the fun part too. It's the
Right.
challenge. It's like, okay, so I have an 80-year-old, I have, a couple in their 40s, and then I've got kids that range, like 6, 9, 14, and 16, right? Like, so I've got
Yes.
a 6-year-old to
Wow.
an 80-year-old. I have to keep everybody happy, get everybody
Yes.
place to place, find things, that also has to be mobility for the 80-year-old. Like, she needs to be able to get
Right.
around. So it's building that itinerary of, okay, these are going to be the hotels that are going to work for everybody, but also, yes, let's find the activities that's going to
Yes.
keep everybody together and happy, and not one person's feeling like, oh, well, I shouldn't have come on this trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
isn't for me, making sure that everybody's happy,
Yeah.
getting the
That's
most out of this experience.
And is there parts of the world, I mean, would you help somebody going anywhere?
Anywhere,
What-
yeah.
so-
Yeah, I mean, Antarctica, New Zealand, Japan,
Okay.
wherever people want to go. There's obviously places that I'm better, like,
Mhm.
that I could do with my eyes closed, just because I
Sure.
booked so much and I've been there so many times.
Hmm.
New Zealand, for example, is a place I have personally never been, but I
Okay.
book flights there all the time. So it's become like a really easy one for me to do, just because I have clients go there a lot.
Right.
Uh, a new one for me that I've been booking a lot recently, that is really like a fun one, but it's also such a challenge, is
Yeah.
Japan. Uh,
Okay.
Japan's kind of a complicated one. So I will book it, but I really, when I'm booking that, like, I'm relying a lot on my partners who are, you know,
There.
they know everything about
Yes.
Japan. And then we work together on it.
So those are people with like that are bon vivant advisors in those ports.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're on the ground there, or,
Yeah.
they, well, in a lot of cases, maybe they don't live there anymore, but they lived there for 20 years. They just, you know, they know it like the back of their hand, and I can
Right.
call them and say, hey, here's what I want. Like, let's work on this together.
Right. Oh, so
And they
that must be really important. Yeah, to have those relationships.
hugely important to have those relationships.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I have those all over the world, wherever
Hmm.
somebody wants to go. If it's not a place that I'm super familiar with, I become super familiar with it through those
Through the
partners.
people.
Hmm.
Do you do anything domestic? Well, Hawaii,
I do.
you
I do
know,
a lot of domestic. Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, it doesn't seem to be as much of a request from people
Okay.
for some reason. But yeah, well, that's not true. I
Mhm.
guess I do a lot domestic, but it tends to be more hotel bookings
Okay.
than like full itineraries. Like I have a lot of people traveling right now domestically, but
Okay.
it's more like, hey, we're doing a girls' weekend to Miami, or we're doing a girls' trip. Actually, I think I have one in Charleston, Savannah,
Oh,
and one
fun.
out in Miraval, you know, the spa in
Yep.
the Berkshires. I have all those in the next couple weeks. But really, other than like, you know, booking the hotels and giving them like the perks that I get,
Mhm.
which is like, you know, the important one thing that they get through booking from me. Other than that, like
Yeah.
I, you know, kind of hands off. If they want
Yep.
something, I'm happy to help, but
Right.
most of the time in those cases, it's just straightforward hotels.
Yeah. So what are those? Like, what is the, in addition to like getting that expertise, obviously, like what do we do and putting it all together like a multi-generational trip? Like what other things I'm curious about um, what you can avoid by working, because there's a lot of like, landmines, like if you're traveling and going abroad and just certain things that you just wouldn't even consider if you're not doing that kind of travel all the time, right?
Hmm.
It's can be intimidating. So I'm curious about that piece too, like how you can help
Yeah,
people avoid things. Yeah.
I think there's a few things. So actually I saw a really funny thing recently where clients, well, no, not clients, just some random travelers,
Yeah.
somebody posted this,
Yeah.
booked tickets to to Grenada in the
Okay.
Caribbean. They thought
Yeah.
they were going to Granada, Spain. They were
Oops.
going to Grenada. So, I mean, it can be
Yeah.
something simple as like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
you're going to the wrong place.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but also, you know, some Instagram and the internet are not always
Yeah.
true to life, right? Like people
Right.
can something and they're like, oh my gosh, this is where we want to go.
Hmm.
And we have a conversation and like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's really not where you want to go, especially, you know, or maybe this is where you'd want to go if it was just, you know, you and your husband, but this is not
Mm.
where you want to go with your three teenage children.
Right.
Or um, another thing, you know, I had a client, actually it was one of my honeymoon clients, had a flight canceled when they were in Ibiza last year. And, you know, they called me. They don't travel a lot. They were super
Right.
frantic. They're like, you know, what do we do? They're on their honeymoon. That's like a short period. They
Right.
were the hotel they were headed to next was like their major, like pinnacle of their trip. And they were being told they couldn't even get on a flight to the next day, right?
Yep.
So, okay, so what do I do? You know, I call the hotel. I'm like, hey, listen, here's the situation. And, you know, if we cannot get them there today, I need you to not charge them for this night.
Right.
Like, we need to figure this out. Like, maybe we can push it, you know, back on the other end. And, you know, if you are just booking this on your own, most likely you're not going to know that general manager, that sales manager. You're not going to be able to have that call and make that
Right.
change. So
Right.
it's having that inside relationship with the hotels. And then the other piece of it was, okay, you're right. We might not be able to get you on a flight. Well, I know that there's a helipad actually not that far from that hotel. Let's
Yeah.
see if we can get you, let's see if we can get a helicopter over, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you
Right.
don't have to miss that day. Or let's check and see if we can just find two spots on, even if it's the last ferry of the day over.
Right.
So it's kind of like the troubleshooting that if you're just a traveler on your own and
You just don't know.
right.
That's very James Bond, like we'll get you on the helicopter. That's exciting. And
Yeah,
it's
it
also one time I was on the ferry coming back from the vineyard, and I'll never forget, this was like this guy, he thought he was taking the vineyard to Nantucket, which is that's a big swing, like, because Cape Cod to the vineyard is like,
yeah,
I don't even know. Is that an hour? I don't even know if it's
yeah,
what it is, but
yeah.
the Nantucket is like a much longer journey. He was ticked, but someone gave him
Poor
bad
guy.
information. I know. So it's true. Like I mean, we laugh, but these things can happen, right? And then you're just you're
Yeah,
left to your own devices,
yeah,
as opposed to having somebody that's like, kind of a net underneath the whole trip.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And especially if you're not someone that's like, like a honeymoon, obviously being very special occasion, but like, you're not, doing a trip like this you're not as just savvy, you know, like, or it's been years since you've been put your foot on European soil, and a lot has
Yes.
changed, right? Like,
A lot has changed. And no matter what, I think that this is like the thing I'm always mindful of is this, most people when they travel,
yeah,
they spend a lot of money, right? You
yeah,
save up for these trips
yeah,
and that and you're spending this money. You want things to go the right way. And
yeah,
the best part for me, this is so cheesy, but it's like the memories that you're making on
yeah,
that trip, right? And like, I
that's
don't want you
right,
to remember this trip like, oh my gosh, remember when this disaster happened and this trip,
right,
like, I want, gosh, that was like the best trip. We had so much fun. Everything went smoothly.
yeah,
And the memories that you have from it. And actually like one of the biggest pieces of that too is yes, the hotels being great, the flights going smoothly, but it is those experiences,
right,
right? Like we create when you're
hmm,
when you're there, when you're on the ground. Like for example, like I have a family last summer that they got to go see the Sistine Chapel with nobody else in there, right? So like the kids could like lay on the ground and look up at the
yeah,
ceiling. They could run around and just making those moments where, oh my gosh, this is like, goosebumps and this is never,
right,
it's a lifetime experience. Those kinds of things are truly
yeah,
like what the part that I love so
yeah.
much.
How'd you pull that off? How did you get like, it's just like
Good partners, good
good
connection.
partners. Yeah.
Yep.
And so what do people say? That was one of my questions. Like, what is some of the feedback and kind of, do people say about their experience? Because I'm sure so much of your is referral, like, oh my gosh, that was so great. We
Yeah.
avoided this. We
Yeah.
had that, we looked at the Sistine Chapel alone. Like, so then they tell their friends. So what are
Yeah,
the
it's all
things? Yeah. Yeah.
I can't take random
Yeah.
people for the
Yeah.
most part, just
Yeah.
because
It's too busy.
it's too busy and I want to know who I'm working with
Oh,
and
right, right.
just having that connection and in some way is just super helpful for me.
Yeah.
A couple people call me random and then we have
Sure.
a conversation. I'm like, okay, this will work. This is
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I prefer to have sort of some
Yeah.
connect with people. But yeah, I mean, I think the feedback that I get typically is yes, like I love hearing again,
Mhm.
like all the hotels you picked were absolutely perfect. Like we couldn't have done that any better. The amount of time in each place was great. But really the big one for me is the
Yeah.
is hearing like, oh, the experiences. Like, oh,
Yeah.
when we went out on the boat and we had lunch at this little cove that you can only get to by boat. And then we went to this island with, the kids were jumping off the boat and the experiences that
Right.
it creates memories. Like that really is that's
Yeah.
that's the gold. Like that's the best part.
Mhm. And so if you're working with someone, let's say someone says like, we want to go to Europe, we want to go to Spain next summer,
Mhm.
2024, I guess. Yeah. Is it too late? Like how much lead time do you need to create a really meaty, good
That's a really
experience?
good
You
question.
know?
So everybody's starting to book things further
Yeah.
and further in advance.
Yes.
So it really depends. I mean,
Mhm.
Italy is still like the number one
Uh-huh.
request. France is a close second. A lot of England too. Spain
Okay.
and Portugal, actually I get a lot of requests for, but it doesn't seem to be quite as crazy as the other ones. But
Mhm.
I had a client reach out to me and I think it was December about a trip to Italy in June. And their clients that like only want, the top tier suites. And
Sure.
actually I couldn't get them. They were
Yeah.
already sold out in several of the hotels that we wanted. So it just
Okay.
kind of depends. But I am right now
Mhm.
working on several Italy, actually Spain and Portugal trips right now.
Mhm.
And and it's fine, like it's
Yeah.
going well.
Right.
So really it just depends on the destination. Japan is one
Yes.
like you have to book way far out in advance. Uh,
Okay.
there's certain places that just require more time than others, but summer is still bookable right now. And
Mm-hmm.
and even spring break is like there's still places that have availability.
Yeah. That's
Like
good.
Christmas, New
Yeah.
Year's, those types of things you have to book
Mhm.
really far in advance because those
Yeah.
all book, especially now.
Right.
Post-pandemic, everybody's leaving for Christmases.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Isn't it funny how, yeah, how do you think the pandemic, just not like, how do you think it's changed people's view of travel after being locked
think
down?
every Yeah, I think everybody just wants to get out and
Yeah,
explore and see the world. And
right,
I think we were so locked up with like,
right. Restrictions.
yes, and then like, you get onto Instagram or
Yeah,
Facebook or TikTok, whatever your social media of choices, and you see
yeah,
all these places and it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to go. I just want to
yeah,
go. And then the world opens up and it's like, okay, we can go. Let's go do
right,
this. So I think it's just made people really want to explore the world, which is
right.
amazing.
And like prioritize it in their life and in their
Absolutely.
budgets, you know? Uh, What do you have like no one like, I find this fascinating, like when a place gets like really popular, it's like, it's always been there, but all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, it's like everybody's
Oh,
going,
like
whatever.
the Four
Not,
Seasons in Sicily, after the White Lotus. I mean,
oh,
it was
yeah,
booked like
yeah,
forever.
right. But like these places, like our neighbors went to Panama.
Hmm.
Is that like, like an actual country that's becoming more and like that you wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily be like an average, like it's not like, I don't know, Italy or the Caribbean or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
I think there's a lot of places that are emerging more as
mhm,
destinations that
yeah,
weren't before. And a
yeah,
lot of that is because so many of the popular places are getting so crowded that people are
yes,
looking for other,
yes,
where can we go that's not going to be as crowded? And another big
right.
thing that's happening is you're seeing more like shoulder season travel. Like
Hmm.
instead of people just, okay, June, July, August,
Right.
a lot more of that, like, okay, I mean, for example, October, you still have gorgeous weather in Greece and in
Yeah,
Italy. And so instead of going in July when it's hot and there's a gazillion people, why not
right,
go in October?
right.
So that's also like sort of an emerging trend that's
I see.
happening.
Very cool. So do people pay a fee to work with you? Do they pay an hourly consulting? Like, how does that work? If that's something you can
Yeah.
talk about.
So
Yeah.
we were talking about domestic travel and
Yeah.
honestly, like when people reach out to me and they're like, we want to do a girls trip
Yeah.
to, Canyon Ranch next
Hmm.
weekend. I'm just booking hotels. I'm
Yeah.
not charging a fee. Like that's a really
Yeah.
easy, simple, like, okay, it's booked.
Yeah.
There you go. Um, and it's it's a win-win, right? Like it's
Mhm.
easy. I don't have to charge a fee, but yet they get to use all of my perks, which, are like, okay, you get $100, $200, whatever resort credit, you get free breakfast, you get a room upgrade, all those things. When
Right.
I'm planning something
Mhm.
um, more in depth, like, okay,
Mhm.
the multi-generational trip to Italy or 3 weeks for a couple through New Zealand, then
Mhm.
I charge just a set like design fee. So I
Sure.
don't I don't do hourly.
Right.
Um, and it's totally, a custom fee, like just based on, okay, how complex is this going to be? How many different hotels are we going to? How many do you want activities every day? Do you want me to do your flights? How involved do you want me? How many people are traveling? So it's just kind
Right.
of
Based on
tiered
those things.
depending on. Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and then as far as like, I'm curious, you've done obviously tons of world traveling your whole life, but do you literally go to destinations and research like, so
I
you're in
do.
Hawaii now, and so
Yeah.
you're just exploring and taking different trips or day trips and restaurants
Yep.
and just to get the lay of the land so you
Yep.
have fresh ideas for your clients.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it's the one sort of it's a fun thing, but it's also kind of a bummer about the
Yeah.
job is
Yeah.
I'm never not working even when I'm on vacation.
Right.
So, um, but it's fun. I mean, I enjoy it. So yes, I'm here and I'm here for a long time. I'm here
Okay.
through March. So
Uh-huh.
I'll go to some of the other islands,
Mhm.
or some of the hotels. Yes, and I'm always looking, okay, what are the activities? What do
Right.
I not recommend? What do I recommend?
Hmm.
The other thing that's important about, traveling for me also is little things like, okay, when I'm booking clients to Hawaii, just like an insider tip, when you're flying home to the East Coast,
Yeah.
don't fly through Los Angeles because
Okay.
one, you get a small plane.
Right.
So even if you're in those first class, business class seats, you're upright, you're not in a lie flat seat, and you're only
Right,
getting like 5.5 hours sleep, right?
right,
Like if you
right.
fly to Dallas, you get the big like 777, 787, you can lie flat, you're getting
Nice.
your stretch of sleep.
Yeah,
So little things like that, right?
yeah, that make a
Just,
huge difference.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, I feel like I have clarity. Like I really do. Like I'm like, I get it. Like I kind of got it, but and I know someone that does something kind of similar, but it's nice because we're neighbors and I'm doing
Yeah.
this. So basically I'm doing this business spotlight just, and like highlighting sorry, Ruthie just got home and she's making a snack.
Everything.
Um, but just like highlighting, local businesses. And I promise you, like, I think I'm going to be the next like 6 months before I even leave our neighborhood. Like, I'm just starting geographically with our neighborhood because there's so many like independent business owners in
Yeah,
Dover, but like, so I'm just kind of marching through our streets to see who owns their own business and who wants to talk about it. So, but I've
that's
always been
great.
curious about your role, and I look forward to, sharing this and pointing people to you. Yeah.
Thank you for this. This is
Yes.
great. So
Yes.
fun.
Yeah. And I'll keep
And
my eye on
and
things
I
for you.
love that you just got Julie on board with you, right?
Yes,
Julie,
exactly. Yes, because yes, I know you guys know each
she's the
other. Yes.
best. That
She's like
is
the nicest person.
she is truly the nicest human.
Yeah.
And
And like, yeah.
I don't know if you've met her husband. He is too. And their girls are
Yeah.
darling and so
Oh,
sweet. I mean, they're just a wonderful family.
yeah. I'm psyched. We've been working on some things together actually in the last couple of weeks, and she's like so sharp and so detail oriented on top of being very nice, but like two separate people like that are not connected told me the same thing about her, and so that's reason enough to join the team. So
Yeah,
she's gonna do great. So
that's awesome. I love it.
well, good to see you, and I hope the sun shines. The sun is shining here, just it's just cold, but enjoy.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right. Thank you,
All
Annie.
right. See you.
Aloha.
Bye. Bye. Hi, hon. Sorry about that.